welcome to No Broken Legs. I am your host, Evan Belfiore. There's just so much shit going on with the Browns. We had to record early this week. Joining me on the phone on a pretty rainy Tuesday night is Jimmy Champ. Jimmy, how you doing, man?
I'm good. I think these are just the tears for the Browns quarterback room. I think that's all that's going on out here.
Man, it's a good thing they spent all that time working with Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco in the early season. Just all those wasted hours. As I'm sure most people will know by the time they hear the sound of my voice, Joe Flacco has been traded to the Cincinnati Bengals. The Browns also sent a 6th-round pick so that they could get a 5th-round pick back because apparently to DePodesta and Barry, if you get enough 5th-round picks, that's like having 1st-round picks. I don't agree with that math, but Jimmy, what are your thoughts on Joe Flacco, Cincinnati Bengal?
I don't understand. I don't understand. Okay. So
I mean, at least this is what we thought they would get in a trade for Joe Flacco, which is next to nothing. So at least that part of it makes sense, but everything else about it is very confusing.
So we have enough video evidence to know what Bailey Zappi is.
Who's probably going to be the backup because they just, I don't know, they just refuse to say Sanders is ready, even though the offense they run looks like it looks like either you or I could run it. It's that complicated.
So, in Deshaun, not able to play. They keep telling us Shador isn't ready. I don't think Dylan Gabriel necessarily looked bad. The pass chart's a little wild.
Oh, it's fascinating. I can't wait to talk about it.
But I don't think Dylan Gabriel looked bad, but I don't think he looked good enough to trade Joe Flacco.
I mean, the offense didn't look any different.
Right,
except
exactly.
that Gabriel can move around a little bit. And I remember seeing his pass chart yesterday and texting you. And, you know, if you split the field into quarters, like if safeties were playing cover 4, they'd have, you know, a quarter of the field. The middle right corner of the field had absolutely no passes. Not short, not deep, not long, nothing. Like, it was just completely empty. And I guarantee you that Brian Flores realized at halftime when they looked at where the balls were going, was like, oh, we don't even have to cover that part of the field.
Yeah, I mean, there was a play where Gabriel overthrew Isaiah Bond down on the left hash, and Njoku was running wide open up the right seam. And it was like the Vikings knew they didn't have to cover it.
Yeah. Man.
But we always thought, right? We felt from the start.
Like now I'm getting us off topic because we're getting ahead of ourselves. Let's stick with Flacco for the time being. I don't think... Does it make sense for Cincinnati to go after Flacco? We've been saying they need to make a move, but I mean,
Jake Browning.
This is a move. I don't know if it's the move they should make. I guess this pretends that Joe Burrow will be back at some point.
Yeah, I mean, Browning has looked really bad. Yeah, there are a lot of people that actually thought he was one of the better backups in the league, but he's played very poor. They had to do something. I would be curious to know how many teams they called asking about backups, or if they were like, I'm sure the Browns will give us somebody. You know, I'm curious what that was like, 'cause it's very weird to make a trade, you know, in your division. It doesn't happen all that often from good organizations. I guess I should preface that with. We've been talking. The Bengals needed to do something. They needed a quarterback that could throw the ball down the field. And I believe if you can protect Joe, I think he can probably still throw the ball down the field. Cleveland was just not able to protect him or get receivers with any separation to where he had any windows to throw the ball into. So if the Bengals believe they can keep him upright and in the pocket, they've got the wide receivers to make it work. So, I mean, I think it was a move. I think there were probably teams with maybe a better option, but I think at least they saw they had to do something and they did it. So kudos to them, and kudos to Joe Flacco for getting to only having to sit the bench for a week.
I don't understand what the fuck they're doing with their quarterbacks. None of this has made any sense from the beginning, and it continues to be a complete clusterfuck and disaster, and that's what it looks like on the field. their offense is broken, and finally a lot of people have turned on Kevin Stefanski. This normally doesn't happen until about week 8, week 9, but he's been a disaster coaching this offense. He's been a disaster coaching this team this year, and this is all stuff that you and I have talked about for several years on this podcast. Everybody else is finally catching up to it. Like, it just, at some point, you are who you are, and it doesn't matter who the players are on the field. The mistakes he made Sunday, they're going to happen regardless of the talent they have on the field. What did you think of Stefanski's coaching at the end of that game?
Yeah, so first I'm going to back up just a little bit to something you said. I think everything that has happened with the quarterback position just does prove that they really were planning on just playing Kenny Pickett this year. Like, I think
then
proves
why
that
did they trade him? Why didn't they just
because he got so
quarterbacks?
I think he just got so far behind from the injury that they couldn't sell it to anybody. They couldn't sell it to the other players, the quarterbacks, anyone. That's what I think. I don't understand. I don't understand. We've been sold the bill of goods that Kevin Stefanski is a quarterback whisperer and an offensive
two-time coach of the year, Jimmy. Two-time coach of the year.
Twice. And, in as much as we are not on the Kevin Stefanski fan train, we will give him credit. Usually the scripted plays are brilliant.
Yeah, he always has that one drive.
Never going to understand how it doesn't carry over through the game. But
maybe they should script more plays.
Yeah. Well, we've talked about this and we've seen a lot of it, and there's been a lot of bad fourth quarter play and a lot of bad coaching in the league this year.
For sure.
But I just don't think there's another candidate for worst coached fourth quarter than what the Cleveland Browns did. They started to play super tight, even tighter than they were anyway. When you choose to run the ball, like on the last drive, when you choose to run the ball on first and second down, you have to then also run the ball on third down or throw another check down. You were not going to complete a 12-yard pass downfield to get the first down. You had a much better option running some kind of screen, some kind of dump down, and try to get somebody in space to get them downfield. But if you're going to run the ball on first and second down, you have to complete a pass on third down. Or you just run the ball again, make them use a timeout. And I do not. The way it's like Kevin Stefanski has 90% of the analytics of timeouts down, but he's missed the last 10%, and it was the most important day of class.
Yeah, I just don't.
If you're going to use the timeouts like that, then as soon as you're out of the timeouts and you see your defense cannot stop them, you have to then just let them score so you can get the ball back.
I agree with that.
If you're going to use the timeouts like that,
was weird, but I don't think it actually changed anything. And it's not like Minnesota needed that timeout anyway. They just marched right down the field on this defense. But I really like your point about if you're going to run it the first 2 times, you got to run it the third time. I don't like the fact that they just, there's 6 guys in the box. I think the way that you actually play that is you run on first down, line up in the same type of formation, and just make it look like, we're just gonna do that. We're just gonna try and run the ball 3 times. And second down is where you do the play action, where maybe you get Gabriel out, or you run one of those, where the tight end blocks or pretends to block and then comes across the formation, because usually that guy comes loose. I saw that 4 or 5 times yesterday for touchdowns or first downs.
Yeah.
And then they didn't throw the ball farther than 10 yards. They only did it 3 times all game, and the third time they did it was on that third down play.
Yeah.
That is no different than the fucking criticisms that I make about, hey, you know what? It's the most important play of the game. Let's bring in a guy who hasn't played in 5 fucking quarters of football, and let's throw the ball to him. What are you doing? It's maddening. And they're throwing it to, that pass was to Bond, I think, right?
I believe it was to Bond, yeah.
You can't throw it to Judy because that fucker can't catch anymore. And he looks completely disinterested and looks every bit the player that you and I accused him of being when the Browns gave him that extension, and everything that we heard from Denver when they traded him, because they were happy to see him go. And
Yep.
now we see why. Because when you need him to make plays, he's just incapable of doing it because he's not a real wide receiver one. He's got all the talent in the world. He just doesn't have the head for it. To kind of circle back to what we were saying about Gabriel, I mean, he looked okay, but if, he's supposed to be great on the whiteboard, as they say. And, he's super smart. I heard Mary Kay say how smart he was, and I was like, oh, God, the dude's doomed. And like, if he's so smart and he can digest the playbook so well, why did the offense? Why did they look like they were only calling a quarter of the offense?
Yeah.
I mean, it
Who
was
knows?
just. I shared the thing I saw somebody on social media posted that he's Dink and Duck Dillon. His nickname should be 3D.
Yeah, this. I think Kevin Stefanski is just holding back the real offense for his next job offer. Like,
Well,
be like,
Jimmy, this is the
I never
real
got to
Kevin
run.
Stefanski offense. We heard
Got
it
to
all
run the whole
year.
offense. Never got to run the whole offense.
Heard it all
Never had the
year.
pieces. Yeah,
Stefanski needs to go. He needed to go 2 years ago. He needed to go last year because you could have at least. I mean, I don't know if they would have been able to get Mike Vrabel, but it's just there's better coaches out there. There's guys that are better. Like, do you feel like he's better than Kevin O'Connell?
No.
Yeah, I don't either. We can now switch to me ranting about the defense because the Minnesota Vikings had 3 offensive linemen out. And that defensive line, I don't think dominated the way they should have with 3 guys out. What were your thoughts on how the defense played?
Yeah, no, I agree. You can't be elite and give up that last drive.
Absolutely.
I'm still like I know you want to rant about the defense, but I'm still not over this timeout usage thing, man. Like,
well, by all means, go ahead.
I just don't understand how on that drive you don't force the Vikings to. You put 0 pressure on Carson Wentz and Kevin O'Connell. 0. Like they were in
zone the whole time.
Every time they got a first down, they got rewarded by you calling a timeout. Like, it was the strangest thing. It was so strange. But I agree with you. We talk about it, and we don't. Okay, Myles Garrett is a first ballot Hall of Famer due to production. Denzel Ward has been one of the better defensive backs of the last decade in the NFL.
He's probably a Hall of Very Good, not a Hall of Fame.
Yeah. So I'm not going to take that away from them. But when people try to tell me all the reasons why Myles Garrett is better than this named player and that named player, there are so many times, like that Vikings drive, that we can point to and go, where was he?
Yeah.
Where was he? Where was he?
He might have been on a milk carton, but I sure as hell didn't really see him on the field.
And I just Denzel Ward on the touchdown pass, that's just inexcusable.
Well, see, Jimmy, they were in cover 2, and that means your safeties are more towards the middle. So he was shaded towards the middle, which, if you may recall, I talked about a few weeks ago looking at film. I forget who it was. It might have been Schlereth, actually, who mentioned this, and I went back and looked at some of the plays. Oh, it was against Baltimore. And guys are shading inside when they have help inside, and they're shading outside when they have help outside, and that just doesn't make any sense. It is just mind-boggling that this team continues to make those kinds of mistakes. And look, this is par for the course for Denzel. He's going to give up a big play pretty much every week. It happens all the time. And I don't think if we're going to call Denzel an elite cornerback, because I don't think he's an elite quarterback anymore. I think he's closer to like 10 to 15 than 5. Like, you've got to make Justin Jefferson work harder than he did. Because I don't feel like Ward got the better of Jefferson, maybe once or twice. But Jefferson got the better of him almost all day. Same with Addison. Yeah. Addison did fine against him.
But O'Connell's offense is creative, and he moves guys around, and he creates space for his receivers. Like, he
Yeah.
does a great job of that. But I just had, like, I think the thing that was my problem, I think the scariest part, I guess, about the defense is now, if you've listened to this podcast for any amount of time, you have heard us specifically call out position groups and players that have been the issue. Rarely over the course of our podcast have we said the defensive line was an issue. I would have expected on that last drive for somebody to get some amount of pressure and a linebacker or a defensive back make the mistake. But they could not, against the three backup offensive linemen, put Carson Wentz in any kind of situation where he might make a mistake. And that's crazy to me because
Yeah.
that is the absolute strength of your team, not just of the defensive unit. That is the strength of your team, is your defensive line. And that is gotta have in it. It sucks. The defense has played some really good halves of football. They've done some great things. But you want to prove you're elite. You want to prove you're great. You want to prove you can carry the team. There was your chance. And you couldn't do it.
I was arguing with some people on YouTube, and I was like, this needs to be the day we stop calling this defense elite. And I got a lot of pushback on that. And when I responded by saying the point that you made about, look, if this is the number one defense in the league, they can't stop Carson Wentz. Like,
Yeah.
are you telling me there's not another defense in the league that could have stopped Carson Wentz on that drive? Because I don't believe that.
Right.
And
Exactly.
and then somebody said something about, the offense doesn't give them any help. They're wearing down. And I'm like, time of possession was 30-30. The defense was on the field for like 26, 27 minutes when you take into account special teams.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean they're tired? Like, they're professional athletes. You're telling me
Yeah.
they're
It was the
tired?
most, and that game was the most controlled the offense has played.
Yeah,
Like, they
I mean,
had some sustained drives.
it's the best
Like,
offensive performance they've had, primarily because Quinshawn Junkins was really
yeah,
good.
Junkins looked really good, and Ford looked good. Like, the running game was really good. I feel like what the we know the offense is limited. I don't really know, especially if you're just gonna call 5-yard checkdowns to the left side of the field. I don't know how much better the offense can be, but the defense has to be able to stop Carson Wentz. Down, like I said, I think the skill players for Minnesota are very good. Their coach is very good, but I don't think Carson Wentz is an elite quarterback. And I think if
I
you would
don't
have put
know.
him in any situation to process faster than he had to, you could have won that game. That should have been a win. Like, I think you
Yeah.
should have came away with a win in that game. And now I definitely don't like the chances this coming week.
Yeah,
It,
right. Before we get to the game this week, I want to make a point that we were talking about yesterday. If you go back and look at that third down throw, first off, it's completely uncatchable. And part of the reason it's uncatchable and part of the reason that Dylan Gabriel sailed so many passes yesterday is because when he has pass rushers in his face, he has to throw the ball up higher or it's going to be knocked down because
yep,
he's tiny. And if you go
yep.
back and watch that third down play, the defender's coming in, and if he makes that throw to the sidelines at the sticks at the angle that he should, the ball's getting knocked down.
Yeah.
And that leads us into, Pittsburgh seeing that, and they're going to be having hands up, and that leads us to Sunday, where the Cleveland Browns are traveling to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. They're 5.5-point underdogs. Over/under is 37.5. Jimmy, the Steelers are known to lose games they should win. Is it possible this could be one of those games?
I don't think they lose it because they've been known to lose games they should win with all of the quarterbacks they've had since Roethlisberger. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have a really good year this year. It's starting to trend that way.
Yeah.
I like Browns to cover, Steelers to win, and the under at FanDuel. It's at about plus 649 on the odds. I do think the Browns will keep it close. I like the number. I think it's a good number for Cleveland. I don't think they can win, but I think they can keep it close. So that's what I'm looking at. I like the under. I like the Steelers to win and the Browns to cover.
I'm like, the Browns didn't even cover Sunday. They ended
No.
up dropping the 3.5 because they lost by 4.
Yep.
I think Pittsburgh's going to roll them.
No. Oh, that would be bad.
Yeah,
Oh.
I think Pittsburgh's going to roll them. And for Pittsburgh to roll them, that's like, I don't know, maybe a 13 to 17 point win, because I don't think Pittsburgh has the
Scored
juice.
a whole lot of points, but
I don't think they have the juice to put
yeah.
up 30 against this Cleveland defense. But I think we're going to continue to see what we've seen all year, which is teams come in bland and boring. They look to get up, and this offense looks rudimentary. It looks basic. I mean, was Pat Shurmur calling plays? Because that's what it felt like. Nothing downfield. It's just ugly, boring, unwatchable football. And I don't understand why they're not trying to push the ball down the field. It's just all a mess. They really deserve to get their asses beat this week. Even if it just lights a fire under the team, because all the beat reporters are saying, yeah, not really any pressure on Stefanski. There's no hot seat, and
I mean that does seem to be
that just continues. It just continues what we've talked about for the length of this podcast. When guys screw up, there's no accountability. Pre-snap penalties. Oh, yeah, we'll get them next play. Like, who's getting in somebody's faces when they fuck up? Yep. And there isn't anybody. The guy they had that did that, they fucking kicked out the door after he was injured in 21. And now he's a fucking MVP candidate.
Yep.
And for all the people that are like, oh, Baker was immature in 21, this front office decided after his 2020 season that was as good as he would ever be. And they were wrong. They were super wrong, and none of them have been held accountable for that yet.
I totally agree. We'd have flying cars in Cleveland if we would have just given Chudzinski a fullback. Giving him a fullback.
We've talked, he got 1 year with a shitty roster, and they kind of put something together, and then they run him out, and then, same thing with Pettin. And, oh, by the way, the coach you were playing against today was in the building with Kyle Shanahan. Like, it's just a comedy of errors with this team. And the offensive line is terrible, and I don't want to hear about it. Oh, they got guys injured. DeJuan Jones can't stay healthy. We talked about it before the year. We hoped he'd stay healthy and play. He's done for the year. We talked about it 2.5 years ago when they gave Conklin that extension. He was coming off a season when he was injured. They extend him, and he's been hurt basically the whole time since. They continue to rely on guys they can't rely on. And it's not just at the top, it's at the bottom, it's in the front office, it's in the coaching staff. Like, what does Bubba Ventrone do?
Just nothing. Special teams pretty bad.
Is he just hanging out in San Diego with D. Podesta? Because we don't know what he does either.
Something that I thought was weird was the rotating of the offensive linemen at tackle. Because there was never a report that any of them were hurt. And it was like every time one of them went out and another one came in, the guy that came in immediately had a false start or a holding penalty.
Well, they were pretty much holding on every play.
Like,
and
it just...
People, the Judkins had that big run that got called back. If there's not a hold on that, Judkins doesn't break that, I don't think.
Yeah, I agree. It just... And the thing that does worry me, and I don't know if it should, because I still think... We know through the scripted plays, and we know sometimes X and O Stefanski is really good. If you don't change Dylan Gabriel's pass chart for this coming game, the Steelers are going to have a pick six.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that. We're recording a little earlier, so I haven't in the week, so I haven't done my full stuff. But I do like Pittsburgh defensive special teams touchdown. Yeah, because
they'll just drop, they'll stunt and drop out an end. And they'll have a pick six if you don't quickly change that. And, I think we're going to quickly find out if Dylan Gabriel's tall enough or not. I
didn't see anything from him that said that guy's an NFL starter.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
I guess we have to see if they open up the playbook what he can do. But if they don't open up the playbook, this is their guy that they think is the dude.
They're just going to have to give him the old Seattle Seahawks Russell Wilson 30-step drop back. Like, it's just what they're going to have to do to let him see over everything. Because he should have the arm strength to make the throw. So, yeah, I think it's going to be
Yeah,
a
it's
long
ugly
year,
and it's
Browns
going to
fan.
keep getting ugly. So let's switch gears. Let's hit the rest of the games while we're here. The
Ugh.
Philadelphia Eagles are traveling to New York to take on the Giants. They're 7-point favorites. 40.5 is the over-under. Jimmy, why are the Eagles not giving the ball to Saquon Barkley more?
I'm so confused. Like, I don't understand it. Like, I mean, we know there's always been the greasy wheel games, but you don't usually do it against a team that has a good defense like Denver, like that, where you just try to force the pass when you've got Saquon Barkley right there. Like, I'm still very confused by it. And this is weird. This game is so weird, and I'll probably end up staying away from this on a lot of parlays because this very much feels like I don't think the Eagles are good enough right now to beat anybody by more than a touchdown, but I don't think the Giants are good enough to backdoor cover anything. So I'm not sure. I'm going to take the Giants. Just it's a division game. The Eagles seem to be a mess, and I don't necessarily know if they have that like we got to make up for last week. I don't know if they operate that way. So I'm going to take the Giants, but I'm weary of this one.
I'm tentatively taking the Giants just because I don't trust the Eagles to cover the spread. But this could be, if there's going to be a game that they give Saquon the ball a bunch, it's going to be this one.
You would think it's this one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Our next game sees the Denver Broncos and the New York Jets traveling to Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. And the Broncos beat the Philly, just took advantage of all their mistakes. Bo Nix looked good for a quarter, so now we'll hear about how great he is for the next 3 weeks. Broncos are 7.5-point favorites. 43.5 is the over-under. This is another one like the last game we talked about. I don't really know what to do with this game either.
I feel pretty confident with the Broncos and the under.
Yeah, that does seem to make sense. The Jets they're a bad football team, man.
Yeah, they just don't have a lot of talent.
Is there any chance that being in London, maybe there's some jet lag, it's, weird place, maybe some of the Broncos players hit the pub for too many pints a couple of days before the game? I don't know. Do the Jets have any hope here? Because they might go so. I mean, they might go winless.
Yeah, they just seem like they're just outside of a couple spots. They're devoid of talent, and Aaron Glenn right now, it doesn't seem like Aaron Glenn's coaching philosophy has quite worked its way through the team yet. Like I think there's a lot of roster turnover that's going to have to happen before, and I hope Aaron Glenn gets the time.
Yeah, he looks like he's in the same
really
position Jasinski and Mike Pettin were in Cleveland a decade plus ago. They've got a terrible roster, and everybody thinks like, "Oh, well, you didn't do good." Like, well, look who I fucking have.
Yep. So yeah, I don't think so. I just don't think the Jets are good enough. And the Broncos defense is for real. I still have doubts about the offense, but they do have a for real defense.
True. Up next, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Indianapolis to take on the Colts. 6.5-point favorites are the Colts. 47.5 is the over/under. I took the Colts in the points last week because I was tired of being wrong, and I'm going to do it again this week, Jimmy.
Yeah, the current number one seed in the AFC, Indianapolis Colts, playing a team that I don't know what.
The Arizona Cardinals remind me of those old Looney Tunes cartoons where they'd Elmer Fudd would have the gun and then he would just turn it around and shoot himself in the face.
Right. I mean, right. Kyler's out. Connor's out.
Well, of course, Kyler's out. He's on my fantasy team. Just like everybody that I have touched in fantasy football has gotten hurt this year.
Now, one thing I will say, and this is just, I was not watching the broadcast of the Cardinals game.
Yeah.
But I watched that clip of that dude running into the end zone. That was a touchdown.
Yeah.
Like, hit the foot, the ball, that was a touchdown.
Like, the ball's ahead of his foot, and his foot had crossed the line.
Yeah. Like, I think dude got screwed on that, but I think the Cardinals will now quickly be dropping to be one of the worst teams in the league.
Yeah. And, hey, we just full steam ahead on betting against Daniel Jones in the playoffs, baby.
Yeah.
Get your 401ks ready. Up next, the Dallas Cowboys are traveling to Carolina to take on the Panthers, who have somehow won 2 games already. The Cowboys are 3.5-point favorites. 49.5 is the over/under, which, when you look at Carolina, is surprising, but when you look at Dallas, is not surprising because Dak really has that offense cooking, even without CeeDee Lamb.
And Dallas hasn't been a very good defense either.
Yeah, so I do like the over here. I like the Cowboys and the over. This just seems like one of those games where Dallas isn't a good team, but they're a mediocre professional team, and I still don't think Carolina's very good.
I don't think they're not going to make the mistakes that have helped Carolina. I definitely think they're more than a field goal. I think they're more than a field goal better than Carolina. So I'm all over. I'm with you. I'm all over the over and the points here for the Cowboys.
Nice. Up next, the Los Angeles Chargers are traveling to Miami to take on the Dolphins. The Chargers are 4.5-point favorites after gagging away a game on Sunday. 44.5 is the over/under. Just the Chargers went from the darlings of the league to if Kansas City doesn't gag away their game, you'd have a 3-way tie for first in the AFC West.
Dude, the AFC Championship game in September between Justin Herbert and Josh Allen would be an all-timer. Like it would be an all-timer. I think I like the Chargers here.
Yeah, I think I like the Chargers too because that defense is good here. And they've got players, and that Miami team just still seems like they're on the precipice of just quitting.
Yeah.
Up next, the LA Rams are playing another team that looks like they're on the precipice of quitting, and that's the Baltimore Ravens. 7.5-point favorites are the Rams on the road. 44.5 is the over/under. I just think the Rams are better than Houston, and I like the Rams to win. I like them to cover. I like the over. Good luck, Cooper Rush.
Yeah, I think you can get right now. You get much better odds than you should at FanDuel on this game, taking the Rams and the over. Like, you shouldn't get good odds on that, but you can and you should. Like, the Ravens are in trouble.
Oh, DraftKings won't let me parlay that. Man, they've been shitty about what you can and can't parlay lately.
Yeah. So, and I think
that's why I've been mostly over at Caesars for some of these.
Yeah, I think because of what's happened with DraftKings, because FanDuel has, for a while, FanDuel wouldn't let you use the over-under in a same-game parlay with the points, but they are again.
Yeah.
And I think I just the Ravens. I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I guess they're the season from hell. I guess
they'll come back from the break, and I think they'll go on a run because their schedule gets pretty easy. Especially like their last 6 games, they could legitimately go 6-0. So if they can, even if they start 1-5, if they can find a way to go 4-2 in their middle 6 games, I think that still gets them to 10-11 wins. Up next, the New England Patriots off a huge win against Buffalo. Traveling to New Orleans to take on the Saints. The Pats are 3.5-point road favorites. A lot of road favorites this week. So
what is this line?
I don't know,
what
man.
What is this line?
Just for all bettors out there are a lot of home dogs. Just be careful. 45.5 is the over/under. What the hell, man?
I don't understand. I haven't yet decided what I think about the points. Like, I don't know if I think it's going to go over or under, but the Patriots by 10. Like, I don't understand.
Yeah, the Saints aren't a good football team.
What a fluky win the Saints had. Like, I don't. Oh.
And plus, that's their win. They knew they were going to be bad coming into the season, and when you have a bad team and you go out and get a win, that next game they often have a letdown because they're like, oh, thank God we got our win. We're not going to go winless.
Yep.
Up next, Jacksonville, who just Trevor Lawrence looked. Well, he made some mistakes, but he came through when they needed him to. They're home for Seattle. They're 1.5-point favorites. 46.5 is the over/under. I like Seattle here, Jimmy. I think Jacksonville's going to have a letdown game after that big win.
Yeah, I kind of thought you might go Jacksonville. We could argue about one, but I agree with you. I think there'll be a letdown, and I think if if that game last night was a boxing match scored on points, Kansas City would have won by a lot. I think Jacksonville had a couple fluky plays that led them to a victory. I still think their receiving core stinks. They're still dropping a ton of passes. They do have two really good pass rushers, but I just don't think they're good enough, and I like Seattle. I think Seattle is a very good team, and looks like they made the right decision at quarterback.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'll be damned. Sam Darnold's looking good again, and that Jacksonville defense didn't look quite as formidable against a mostly healthy KC offense. And we'll talk about the Chiefs in a little bit, but I don't know if that Jacksonville defense is as good as they maybe looked earlier in the season against lesser competition. So
I agree.
Well, the Tennessee Titans are no longer winless. They're traveling to Vegas to take on the Raiders. 4.5 is the spread here, Jimmy. 41.5 is the over/under. I like Vegas here for the reasons I like the Patriots to cover in the one before. Tennessee got their win. I think Vegas wins this game. I think they win it pretty easily.
Yeah, I think there were definitely teams this past week. There were teams that lost instead of teams that won, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
and I think Tennessee is one of them. I think the Raiders are better across the board than Tennessee, so I'm all over the Raiders here.
Tennessee managed to take advantage of Arizona's miscues in a way. Was it Carolina that they played against that they tried to gag the game away to?
Yep.
Yeah, I'm still mad about that backdoor cover. Up next, we have the Green Bay Packers are home facing the Cincinnati Bengals. The spread right now is 14. It's 44.5 for an over/under. Is Joe Flacco going to start this game?
I don't know. What is the money line at right now? I know what it was when I looked at it earlier.
Minus 1,000 and plus 650.
That's hilarious. I don't know if I don't think the Packers have what the Lions have in needing and wanting to beat teams into like underneath the ground. I just don't think the Packers have that. So I think the Bengals can keep this to 2 touchdowns. Like with 14.5, I'm taking Cincinnati.
Yeah, I'm going to take Cincinnati with the points here. I like the over, but this is a prime teaser candidate. If you can put this, I think Green Bay can win this game by 10. So if you get it under 10, I think that's probably the way to go.
And to answer your question, if I was the Bengals, I would start Flacco.
Yeah, I don't see
want
any
to see Jake Browning.
No, I ended up getting to watch quite a bit of that game, and Jake Browning those interceptions he threw were just horrendously bad. They were so bad. He's just not good. I don't know how they got anything out of him a few years. Was just last year, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe we've seen that with guys though. Mac Jones was good for like 6 games in New England, and then he fell off a cliff until he fell into Shanahan's paint by numbers offense that has made everybody look great.
Yep.
So I don't know, man. Well, we get to talk about him, brother. Tampa Bay hosting San Francisco. The Buccaneers are 3-point home favorites. 47.5 is the over/under. Buccaneers are 4-1. 4 of those wins have come on Baker fourth quarter game-winning drives. It's almost as if the football gods are just rubbing Cleveland's noses in it. And Baker's an MVP candidate. It's just...
I do have a question because it's so hard to keep track of all of them. Was McLaughlin the kicker we drafted too?
Oh, I don't remember. Dude, I'd forgotten all about Zane Gonzalez until after week 1 when they had the list of all the kickers that were available, and like out of the 8 of them, 6 of them were former Browns.
I can't remember if he's the one that we drafted that made the game winner against Carolina to open that season. I can't remember. This could be one of the best regular season games of the year.
That'd be impressive because Tampa Bay won the best game I think we've had so far this year against Seattle last week.
Yeah, I mean, that was a hell of a game.
And plus that Tampa defense isn't looking very good right now, but that offense is really humming even with Mike Evans out. Even with Godwin was out earlier, now he's still working his way back. They've had linemen out. It just doesn't matter. Baker's cooking.
Emeka Egbuka looks like exactly what most Ohio State fans thought he would look like in the
Yeah,
NFL. He was a premier route runner in college. Always had to take a kind of little bit of a backseat to big time playmakers, but I think everybody expected him to be really good, and he's being really good right away. I think this game is going to once again come down to the last drive, and if I got to choose between Baker and Mac Jones, I'm taking Baker. Give me Tampa Bay here.
I'm with you. Hold
I
on.
also like the over because I think both these defenses are pretty bad.
I agree with what you said. I think Tampa Bay wins this. I would probably take this at 2.5 just to make sure if there's a tie, you get
So you can
the
get the
field goal. Yeah, just so you can get the win there. If you're not betting Ibuka to get a touchdown, that's just you're not being smart because you said you got it yesterday at what 140.
Yeah, I got
Plus-
it at
plus
145.
Yeah,
I got
plus
it at plus
145.
145 yesterday
I mean,
or Sunday. Yeah,
that's a good
that
return.
was
That's $145 on a $100 bet. So you're getting 1.5 times your money back. That's smart business right there.
and it's been like easy. Like his touchdowns have been easy.
Yeah,
It's just Baker looks like exactly what we thought Baker could look like.
yep, with the right team around him and the right organization around him, but that just wasn't going to happen here because they don't have the right organization, top to bottom. It's just a disaster.
Yep.
Up next, what everybody will call the game of the week. It's on Sunday night. The Detroit Lions in Kansas City taking on the Chiefs. The Chiefs are 2.5-point favorites. 52.5 is the over-under. We talked about how the offense looked a lot better for Kansas City against Jacksonville. Do they get Rice back this week, don't they? This is week 6. No, he's gone for one more week.
Yeah, he's got one more week out.
So they still won't be at full strength, but that offense looks like it's humming. But, man, defensively, they look like they can be gotten.
Struggling. Yeah.
And Detroit looks like it's rolling. So I definitely like the over here, and I like Detroit with the points.
Yeah, I think that's the right. I think these are still two of the better teams in the league, even with Kansas City's record. I still think they're pedigree-wise, talent-wise. I still think they're one of the better teams in the league, but Detroit is absolutely one of the best teams in the league until much later in the season when
that's another team we can bet about in the playoffs. We can bet against them
the
in the
real
playoffs.
Jared Goff when the real Jared Goff shows up. But I mean, hell, we got David Montgomery throwing touchdowns last week. Like
that was nice because he had his. I didn't hear. I just saw that it was a family member of his that was out of the hospital that was watching the game. Was that his mom or a sister or aunt or something?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know he's from that area too.
Yeah.
So
and there
so it was a big
were
deal for
some
him,
of the
but-
shots they showed. They played Cincinnati, right? Oh yeah, that was the Cincinnati game. They showed a lot of the Cincinnati fans were dapping her up when he got his passing touchdown and when he got his running touchdown. So that was nice to see. That was nice to see some class from Cincinnati.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm with you because of the points. I mean, I think there's a very good chance Detroit wins this game outright. Like I think it's probably pretty close to a 50-50 split. So I'll take the team that's getting a couple points.
Totally agree. Up next, the Buffalo Bills are traveling to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. 49.5 is the over-under. 4.5 is the spread. Who do you like here, Jimmy?
I think this might be a bad week to be on the Atlanta Falcons team.
Yeah, I think Buffalo's going to win this game pretty handily.
I think what they learned, they've talked about, I've always said, my problem with Buffalo a lot of times is the way they celebrate games they shouldn't celebrate, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. They make a big deal out of regular season wins where they should just be on to the next one. That's my opinion. When you're a team that believes you're a Super Bowl caliber team, you shouldn't give a shit about winning a game in September. It shouldn't be that big of a deal. You shouldn't care if people left the stadium. You shouldn't care. You should just win the game. But they've talked about, hey, we're going to be really dull. It's going to be death by 1,000 cuts. That's what we're going to do. I think against New England, they learned that playing that style, you actually have to be perfect all the time or it doesn't work. I expect them to throw the ball down the field. I think Josh Allen will look more dynamic, and I think the Bills are going to beat the crap out of the Falcons.
I was really surprised to hear Nick Wright talk about how they've been more efficient offensively, but they haven't been getting the big chunk plays. So I went and looked up some numbers, and I was like, holy shit, he's right.
It's crazy.
And you just don't expect that from an offense with Josh Allen. You still expect them to get some big plays downfield.
He doesn't. He's not even trying.
Maybe they're holding that back. Maybe they're taking a page out of Kansas City's book from last year and the year before, and they're holding some stuff back for the playoffs. If they are, and they're going to look to open things up later in the season, that could be what finally gets them over the hump to a Super Bowl. But right now, it looks like they're just, they're just sort of doing yeoman's work and trying to get wins. But it's, I don't know. There's still something that makes me not believe in Buffalo in terms of making a Super Bowl, even though everything about them screams we're good enough to make the Super Bowl.
Right.
Our final game of the week sees the Washington Armada taking on the Chicago Bears in D.C. Where is it? Oh, there it is. The Commanders are 4.5-point home favorites. 50.5 is the over/under. Commanders got Jaden Daniels back and looked a lot like they did last year. This is a rematch of that crazy ass game that they played last year. I still can't help but laugh thinking about, I don't know if it was a cornerback or safety for Chicago that was like taunting the fans, and then he gets burned on the touchdown. Do you think Chicago can get some revenge here?
No. I think even with the injuries they have with Jaden Daniels, I just think the Armada are much better than the Bears. I actually like the under in this one because I don't think the Bears will do their part to hold up their end of the points. So I actually like the Armada.
With that Washington defense not being all that great.
I just still don't have a lot of belief in that Bears offense.
Yeah, and that 50 is a big number.
Big number.
This game could easily be like 28-17, hit the under.
That's
Washington
a big number.
Covers, you're on your way.
Yeah.
I guess let's just wrap up real quick. We've seen some really surprising starts, and I'm looking at the standings now. We thought New England would probably make the playoffs because their schedule was pretty easy, so 3-2, no big deal. The Steelers are 3-1. The Colts and Jaguars 4-1. We thought San Francisco would be good. The Rams, on the other hand, at 3-2, that seems a little surprising. They could very easily be 5-0. Yeah. What of these teams do you think will rebound and rise? Kansas City and Baltimore both being where they are. Which of these teams that are doing well do you think are going to come back to the pack? And which of these teams that have struggled do you think can get back into the pack? Houston as well at 2-3 is another team I should mention.
So I did not think San Francisco was going to have this type of early start. And I might even say if their quarterback was healthy, they wouldn't. I don't know. I thought the Rams were going to do what they were doing. And just for myself personally, I still think the Texans are going to win the AFC South, and the Jaguars and the Colts will both miss the playoffs. I just think there are a lot of teams that started out the year with hard schedules that have their easier games at the end. Now, Jacksonville, all the credit in the world for that win last night. Huge win.
Yeah.
But Jacksonville and Indianapolis, they were flipped. Their easier games were at the start of the season, and their harder games were at the end. I don't believe in their quarterbacks. I don't believe yet in their coaches. I just don't think they're talented enough. So I think I do believe that's where either Kansas City or Baltimore grab the wild card, and Houston grabs the AFC South. So I don't know. I thought I have the Steelers in the playoffs.
Yep. So
I don't know. I mean, the Chargers just
it looks like the Steelers are going to win the division by default.
I'm telling you, it's crazy. That thought is absolutely nuts. But we said if Aaron Rodgers was just competent, the Steelers had a good team. They were going to be okay if they got competent play quarterback, and they're getting it. So, but I would say in the AFC, those would be the two teams. I don't believe in the Colts and the Jaguars. I think they will fall off.
So I agree with you about the Colts. They beat the Dolphins, they beat the Titans, they beat the Raiders, and they had that crazy-ass game where they beat the Broncos. So those are their 4 wins. They get the Cardinals this week. I'm looking at their schedule now. Then they get the Chargers. 2 weeks after that, they get the Steelers. 2 weeks after that, you get the Chiefs. Then you get the Texans. then the Jaguars, then the Seahawks, then the Niners, then the Jaguars, then the Texans. I mean, that last stretch there, if the Texans get their stuff together, you could be looking at 2-4 to end the year, or the Chiefs are before that. So their last 7 games are Chiefs, 2 Texans, 2 Jaguars, Seahawks, Niners. That could be 2-5 or worse.
Yeah.
So totally with you there. Yeah, the Steelers are just going to march into the playoffs, and it's going to be really annoying. I don't know if Jacksonville can continue doing this. I guess we'll see. I like I said, I thought they were going to be a team that was either way under or way over. It looks like they might be on their way to a way over.
Yeah, in the NFC, for me in the NFC right now, the 49ers are the only team that would be in the playoffs that I didn't have projected to be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I thought there would be 2. I thought the Falcons, I really thought the Falcons, but the 49ers are playing good football. Their defense isn't as good, but I guess shame on all of us for not believing Christian McCaffrey would be okay because he looks really good. Mac Jones has played well.
We'll see for how long, because last week it was just like, all right, just give the ball to fucking McCaffrey every time.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And, kudos to Shanahan for doing what he does. But I agree with you, like, the Rams are so very close to being undefeated.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how they play this week. They really need to put their foot in somebody's ass.
Stafford looks really healthy. The Devontae Adams pickup looks really, really smart.
Yeah.
So I like the Rams coming into the year. I like them now. And we were, I'm sure there were other places that said it too, but I said, very good chance Tampa Bay could be the last team standing in the NFC.
Yeah, especially if we keep seeing what we've seen from Philadelphia. They have a lot of the hallmarks of 2 years ago when they were sort of just kind of skating, doing that Kansas City, doing enough to win thing until it stopped, and then everything fell off.
Yeah,
and I think that's part of who Sirianni is as a coach and his relationship with Jalen Hurts, which seems it's not a match. Like, their personalities, I don't think, match each other. And when they're winning and moving forward, all of that's fine. But they had a big team meeting. I think Saquon, Jalen, and A.J. Brown got together and met for like 2 hours. So I just, that offense doesn't like, it should be good. That offense should be fantastic.
It should be fantastic, and it's just not right now. And I think we have seen in the big game all of the elite quarterbacks in the league sometimes not come through. But right now, Baker is playing with that confidence that we saw in Cleveland a few times when he was healthy, and we've seen when he's been in Tampa Bay where there is not a throw he's afraid to make.
No.
And he's going to throw it. Like, he's going to throw it. He's not afraid to throw it. He's going to throw it. And just kudos to him. And I don't know if it, I think Liam Cohen was a very good offensive coordinator for him. And I think kudos to him for what he's done in Jacksonville so far. But I don't know if it's the coaching staff, if it's just Baker's work. I don't know. But the way he has figured out when to run has been really, really fun to watch.
Yeah. And he runs, when San Francisco made their run to the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy really knew when to take off and run. And he didn't run much, but when he did, he was effective. Yeah. Kind of like, we talk about Patrick Mahomes being the most effective quarterback runner. Not the best. That's either Josh Allen or Lamar Alexander, obviously. But it's about being effective and knowing, okay, I'm not a runner, but I can get a first down here and keep a drive moving. And I think you're spot on with that. It's really given him another little dimension.
Yeah, and I think the thing I like about it is, like, I'm just a tad annoyed with all the quarterbacks in the league who are like, oh, I'm going to run. No, I'm going to throw. No, I'm going to run. But it's like Baker is making that. No, I'm going to tuck this ball and I'm going to truck somebody. And I just love it.
Go be decisive. And people say that he puts the ball in danger sometimes. And, no more than Brock Purdy did. And everybody forgave it with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, 100%.
If Baker's going to throw 40 touchdowns in a season, you can put up with a pick a game.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, It's a little early in the week, Jimmy, but it was great talking
Yeah.
some football
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
you. I appreciate you making time. I have, for those of you wondering, the real reason we're recording early is I have some family coming into town. So the room where I record will be populated by people who will probably be sleeping when we record. So
That's
I
okay. We needed
appreciate
to
you
talk
coming
about
out,
some of
man.
this Brown stuff.
Yeah, so I appreciate you making the time early in the week, man.
No place I'd rather be, brother.
And I would like to thank all of you for listening. For any of you who are still holding out hope for the Browns, Godspeed. It's not going to go very well. For Jimmy Champ, I'm Evan Belfiore. Thank you for listening to No Broken Legs.